Well, sir, today we're talking about climate change and asking people to not exploit resources on the Earth. Now we're talking about exploiting resources on the moon. I mean, imagine, and you used the right word, you said quantum jump. Now, when we're talking about this quantum jump, doctor, one has to look at the space race that's also going on, isn't it? People are already talking about how the Russia's Luna-25 has taken off after Chandrayaan-3, will reach there before Chandrayaan-3. Chandrayaan can only work for one lunar day, which essentially means 14, 15 Earth days maximum. I mean, it's going to be a blessing if when the sun comes up again on the moon, our machines haven't really frozen up and can continue to work. But that's a shot in the dark, quite literally, a shot in the space dark. In terms of its competition with Luna-25, the payload is lighter. I mean, can you compare the two? Should we even be comparing the two? Because Isro is doing on a different budget. Russia is carrying out their own missions on a different budget. Their objectives of the mission are different. Ours is different. So firstly, should we, number one, compare these two missions? And number two, whilst we're comparing these two missions, what's your viewpoint on it, sir?
Well, I think there's no point of comparing with the other missions because each one have their own priorities. As far as the Russians are concerned, as you know that in mid-60s itself, their landers and rovers have been there on the lunar surface, mostly on the equatorial region, and picked up samples, and even some samples have been brought back to the Earth. So they have already achieved such mission goals in the past. But this dark side of the moon has not been explored. And that is what will throw some light about the virgin condition of the moon, and also the some idea about what was the condition of the Earth when the moon spun off from the Earth. So this kind of data is of high scientific input. More than that, if you are trying to establish some sort of a colony, robotic colony or a human colony, the polar region becomes important. So in the polar region, what are there and what are the conditions, and then accordingly plan for the future setups becomes important. Now, as far as exploiting the minerals are concerned, I think that most of the people are fascinated by the helium-3. Huge deposits of helium-3 are believed to be there on the surface of the moon, and helium-3 is the ideal fuel for fusion reaction. It is a non-emission, there's no radiation or no hazard from this, and the emission is completely green. It's only water and gases. So that way, I think the helium-3, if we can excavate from there and bring to Earth, it is going to be a big boon as for our energy
That will be
sector.
groundbreaking,
So
doctor. That will
everybody
be
is trying
absolutely
to vie for
groundbreaking.
that. Similarly, many
Right, doctor, do go on,
yes,
do go
I
on.
think it is certainly it is not available on the Earth. We are tremendous boon as far as the energy sector is concerned. Now, looking at the other minerals like titanium or lithium and aluminum and all those things, they are also useful. And especially lithium, you know, it has been a source for the renewable energy sector and so on.
Right.
So that also has become another aspect of it.
Doctor, why I'm
Now,
asking you this question,
certainly,
doctor,
we have to
why I'm
be,
asking
these
you
are
this question essentially is because, I've got some statistics in front of me which say that the Luna-25 is lighter, pretty much half the times lighter, 3,900 kilograms for Chandrayaan-3, just 1,700 kilograms for Luna-25. Luna-25 does not have a rover when Chandrayaan-3 has a rover. But why I'm asking you this again is because the landing site is not very far away from each other, according to the coordinates, but the mission life, the departure and the arrival is same, the landing site is same, but the mission life, we are sitting at 14 days, they are going to work around for a year, 1 year. Sir, why this difference essentially?
Well, one thing is if we want to have such long life without support from the solar energy, we have to have the nuclear power sources. I don't think we have developed that kind of technology in the country today. Russians definitely have this edge on that. Using the nuclear power sources, they can sustain the rover for a longer duration. Whenever the sun comes, the solar energy will be used, and period, the nuclear source will be used. So that's one major difference. Then the second thing is that I think this design of the Chandrayaan 2 and 3, they were evolved in the 2010 time frame. For various reasons, there were delays and so on. But that's one of the reasons that we are having a slightly older technology compared to what the Russians have got. And perhaps the next missions we are thinking, definitely we will also catch up and we will be having much better technology than the Russians in this aspect.
Absolutely, sir. That's actually a great perspective. You know, even as we wrap this conversation up, Dr. Nair, from your perspective, and you're the right person to be asking this question because you yourself have been, you know, an astound and renowned name when it comes to Indian space research, and you've been the former chairman of Indian Space Research Organization as well. How does Chandrayaan 3's accomplishments contribute to India's overall growing prowess on the global stage when space research is being talked about? I mean, we're taking more time than the Roscosmos to reach the lunar surface, but maybe we've taken a different road and we're doing more in less, aren't we? So, from your perspective, India's rising stature on the global space race platform.
Exploring the nearby objects like Mars, Moon, Venus, etc., is very much on the agenda. And in fact, the Chandrayaan 3 is a small step towards the future explorations of such planetary objects. From that point of view, this mission is very, very crucial and important. As far as the global status is concerned, Indian rockets and Indian spacecrafts are proven to be as good or better than many of the spacefaring nations. In fact, the fact that even the US is turning towards India for launching their satellite shows that we have shown our reliability as well as low cost access to space. So that way we have established ourselves as a space transportation provider. Again, in the spacecraft technology, Earth observation, or the communication satellites, what we build are world class. In fact, they are competing. Earlier, maybe even 10 years back, we have built satellites for European Union from here.
Right.
So that way, I think we have caught up in all these areas. The only element where we are lagging behind is in the human access to space. So that too, our Gaganyaan program is very much on the rails, and soon we'll be catching up with other countries in this respect.
Absolutely.
So globally,
Because, sir, Doctor, with the Gaganyaan, throw some light on Aditya L1 as well. We're also getting closer to the sun. Now our bid to study the sun as well. It's not like moon pe baat khatam ho gayi. We're also going towards the sun.
yes, I think that's a very important element. As you mentioned about the global warming and so on, the carbon emission is one of the major contributor. But at the same time, the solar radiation disturbance also causes the weather changes. So to have a continuous observation of the sun and its various phenomena which is taking place on the surface of the sun is very important. The Aditya mission is tuned towards that. We are going to have a permanent observation station from the Lagrangian point, and from there we will be closely watching what happens on the sun, and then correspondingly what changes happen on our Earth. That will throw a lot of light as to how we are proceeding with respect to the global warming as well.
We were playing those visuals out of the Aditya L1, the entire module, just to show a glimpse to the viewers of what the Aditya L1 also looks like. But coming back to the lunar mission, sir, the separation, finally, the second last bit, it seems like, is the separation of the propulsion module and the main body. How challenging and significant is this particular, maneuver where the two bodies essentially separate? How complicated is it, and will it be challenging, sir?
Well, as far as separating these systems are concerned, we have tried a number of times, and the
Well, it seems like we're having technical difficulties.
reliable operation.
All right.
There's not much of a real challenge. And there is no beacons or guidance are there. It is all based on the onboard sensors and detectors. And even the communication takes time. It takes about 8 seconds for the signals to reach from the spacecraft to the ground. And if you want to send back, another 8 seconds. So these time delays, etc., play sometimes havoc on the system. But we hope that whatever we have imagined, what we have programmed, will work well, and all the sensors and the thrusters will work properly so that we can have a smooth landing. But that is going to be the most difficult part of it, and we have to keep our fingers crossed for the descending operation
Right.
as well as the last touchdown operation.
Dr. Nair, it seems like all the ISRO scientists right now are taking a chill pill. It's going to be only the last 24 hours where everybody is going to be in that anxious mode because, like you pointed out, it's the last landing that is the most treacherous bit, the most difficult bit of attempting this soft landing on the moon. Dr. Nair, last question to you before we wrap this up. Your final opinion, your thoughts to all the ISRO scientists that have been tirelessly working, to all the people of the country who are waiting with bated breath for this module to finally make that soft landing on the moon. All cameras towards you, your message, sir.
Well, it is going to be a prestigious moment as far as the country is concerned. And we are going to make a small step towards the human colonization of the other planets. And this is going to be a great event, and we can pray that everything goes all right, and we will give the good news to the nation on 23rd.